All right. Today we have on Richard Lee, PGA golfer, former University of Washington Husky, proud father and husband. Today's interview is really about the process of achieving your dreams with some slight, not obstacles or hurdles, but more responsibility, more accountability. And hopefully we can illuminate ways and just a mindset into becoming a better you, being a more productive you. Richard, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's start off with a fairly non-deep question, if that's even a word or a phrase. We talked about it a little bit earlier. You got married at 18 before you went to college. While you were in college. You're on tour. You have a daughter. Obviously, that's not a typical path for most guys who are pursuing any sports career, let alone on tour. What was your thought process as far as just the magnitude of it, or was that something where it was just something else that you were like, cool, let's do it, just a detail, we'll figure it out?
Well, I think when I got started, I didn't start golf till I was about 14, so I kind of started out, as you say, a little late, quote unquote late. But when I turned about 16, 17, I wasn't still very good. There were a lot of kids that were better than me at the time. I would say I'm definitely a late bloomer, but I think when I was about 17, that's when I kind of knew golf is what I wanted to pursue. And obviously, at that time, it was definitely a dream of mine to play on the PGA Tour because it's such a competitive sport, and there's so many talented golfers. When I turned 18, it was always a goal and a dream, but at the same time, I knew deep down, golf is what I was meant to be doing. I have a very deep belief and have faith in that this is what I was called to do. So that it was kind of, in a way, hard to grasp. At the same time, I knew I could do it deep down. I didn't know if, it's obviously difficult, a big dream, but, it was something that was attainable in a way. But obviously when I was 18, got married, and we had the kid when I was just barely 20, almost 20. At that time I was in the University of Washington playing golf in college. I guess I was on the upper tier level, compared to all the other college players. Obviously there were tons of guys that are better than me. I ended up being 13 All-American and stuff, but at that time it was very deep. It was still a big goal of mine, still a dream to that point, and I didn't really realize when I would get to the PGA Tour. But when I graduated college and went to Q school, ended up playing on the Nationwide Tour, which is, I guess it's like AAA in baseball. That's when I just kept pursuing at it. I just never, I don't know, it was just something it's kind of weird. It's something that I always wished and wanted at the same time as what I strived for, and then it happened a lot quicker than I thought it would, to be honest. So it was definitely a dream of mine, but it goes to show you that your dreams can be achieved, if you work hard and put the time in and believe. I think believing in yourself and that you can do it is the big part, So.
Well,
yeah.
Well, that's. I think as we go through your story, that's going to become one of the underlying currents here. Now let's step back before Q school, before even having a daughter. You you went to University of Washington. How did how did you get there? You're talking about tiers of players in college. You were a late bloomer. You didn't really get serious about golf to your teens. Is there a specific reason for that, or was it just something where you were exposed to it and you loved it?
Well, so when I got to the University of Washington, before I transferred to the University of Washington, I did 2 years at a community college, and before that, when I was 16 in high school, that's when when I really was starting to love it and starting to really think this is what I want to do. And at that time, I made a big decision when I was 16 and a half. I had a family friend of mine who lived in Asia and played on the Asian tour. He was professional at the time, a little older than me. And I was talking to my dad, and I was like, hey, Dad, this is what I really want to do. I want to give it my all. And I actually quit high school and then decided to go to Asia at 16 and be homeschooled and literally practice every single day, sunrise to sundown, to kind of, I'm thinking that that's going to make me a better player, putting all that time in. And I did that for about a year. I actually lived in the Philippines for about a year with the professional, and I learned a lot, but I didn't really feel like I got in what I put in. The work I put in, I didn't feel like I really improved as much as I thought I would. And that time, I decided to come back to America, back to high school. But when I came back, they're obviously my credits weren't going to be enough. They're like, oh, okay, you're going to have to help back 1 year. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. So I took the GED and ended up playing golf at the Bellevue Community College in my hometown. So I was there for 2 years, played there. I was getting pretty good, but I started winning a lot of tournaments, but obviously the competition was a lot weaker. And then I transferred to the University of Washington my junior year, and Washington, we played Division I. Our competition was great, and I just kind of started to believe, and I had some good results right out of the bat. I remember starting the season, my first year at UW with 4 top 10s, and I was like, oh, I'm getting there. I'm closer. I knew I wasn't, there yet, but I'm still not there yet where I want to be. But it's a constant battle of trying to get better. But I just knew if I keep at it, if I keep working hard and smart, I could get better and better. And so yeah, I was never highly recruited out of high school because I was just kind of doing my thing, gradually. There were a lot of players better than me at that time. But I think my thing was I just kept at it. I worked hard, I worked smart, and I just eventually got to where I wanted to be. And obviously I have a lot more goals and more things I want to achieve, but I'm here. So it was nothing like, oh, Rich Lee, he's a stud, or he's a high school star, he's going to play well in college and make it in tour. I think not a lot of people expected me to get here so quick. So, but yeah, it's hard to explain, but biggest thing that I did was just kind of kept at it, so kind of chipping away, getting a little better here and there, so.
Yeah, and going back to the outset of of our conversation, you talked about believing.
Yeah.
Let's be 100% honest. In our country, if you don't get a high school diploma but you get a GED, there's a stigma attached to it. Obviously, you have something completely different at play. You went overseas. How old are you? 16, 17? You said?
Yeah. Yep.
You went to Asia to become a pro golfer in a sense, to jump that much further into the deep end of where you wanted to be. So to come back and then to get your GED, which again, let's be honest, that's not the regular path, and there's always going to be doubts in your mind and around you and chatter. And you pushed past that, went to Bellevue Community College, and then you got picked up at University of Washington.
Yeah.
Before we get into Q School, the nationwide tour, this is a question I thought about that is just interesting to me. You picked up the game late, so you're a late bloomer. That sort of like, it shortens your vision or your perspective at times as far as like what you're doing on the course or achievement-wise, in my opinion. Was there, and that's not a bad thing, it's just you don't have as much experience because you're growing into your body, you're growing into your mindset, you're experiencing new and more challenging experiences, and you're just processing it and analyzing it as you go. Was there an aha moment? Like, was there a moment, whether it was at Bellevue or Washington or winning tournaments or whatever, where you were just like, wow, I have to do this? I know that you've always believed. To believe is essential, but was there a moment where you were just like, this is what I know I've been, like, gunning for?
It's hard to pinpoint an aha moment, to be honest, because I don't really think I had that moment where I'm like, this is it. I just always felt like this was it. When I kind of like, even when I started to fall in love with golf, I just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird, and it's hard to, I don't remember there's a moment where I'm like, this is what I want to do. It was always been what I wanted to do, in a way, if that makes sense. But obviously, definitely, it helped. It kind of, obviously, golf is such an up and down sport, and there were definitely moments I had doubts. I was like, am I good enough? Or am I doing the right things? Am I working hard enough? There were definitely moments of doubt, that is for sure. But I think what added to, what helped me out was just even those moments of doubt or hardship, I had a great support system, like my wife and my coach and all that. And at the same time, kind of just persevering through those times and eventually getting good results in tournaments, winning a tournament or something like that. It just kind of kept pushing me to even get better, and it really helped me get to where I am today. And so it's hard to find that one moment to say this was it, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. I mean, in some respects, that proves more to what you've been saying as far as just how it explains why a teenager would go to Asia to practice golf every day, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let's transition to Q School. And
okay.
I'll be honest, right off the top, I have this fascination with Q School. I'm not saying that like I was in it or anything like that. I mean, I'm a former football player, and it's honestly a new discovery to me. And the first thing, it's not really a school; it's a tournament. And it's a way to get your PGA Tour card. Let's talk about your transition from University of Washington going into Q School, and oh, by the way, married with a baby.
So everybody that plays golf that wants to play on the PGA Tour, whether you're in college or you've graduated for a few years, everybody knows about Q School. It's the only way to get to the PGA Tour. So a Q School is a gruesome process because there's basically 4 golf tournaments that you need to get through to get your playing rights on the PGA Tour. And so when I graduated college in 2010, so that was in June, the Q School process, it's a few months process because there's pre-qualifying, there's first stage, there's second stage, and then there's final stage. So pre-qualifying starts end of August, if I remember correctly, and which is not too difficult, especially if you're a decent college player. You're expected to get through that. In first stage, there's definitely much better competitions. There's about 12 sites around America. Every field is about 90 guys, and 20 guys get through to the second stage. First stage was very difficult for me because, first of all, in all the stages, it's 4 rounds, and the first 2 rounds I played really poorly. Like, I remember this day vividly because if you don't get to first stage or second stage, I mean, you have nothing. You don't have a job. So, like, first stage, a lot of pressure there. And first stage, I remember I was in Beaumont, California with my wife and my daughter. That's when we drove there because we just recently moved to Arizona, which I'm currently at. But anyway, yeah, we drove there. I remember in the first 2 days I was like in 60th place, like just way out of it. And I remember after the second round, my wife and I and our daughter found this little Mexican restaurant around the corner. We're just eating dinner, and I remember being so down and like devastated. And my wife kept encouraging me, saying, "Hey, it's not over yet." And in my mind, I thought it was over, to be honest. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, "Oh, I'm not getting through." Whatever, I'm just very disappointed. But my wife kind of kept me believing and saying, "Hey, it wasn't over." And the third round, I played great. I shot like 7 under, which is a great round, and kind of got my back in contention. And the last round, I shot 3 under. I ended up making it by 1. So I was just like, wow, I can't let this happen. And then second stage, something similar, but it wasn't as dramatic because I played a little bit better and got through. And final stage, I had a big heartbreak because the final stage is 6 rounds of golf, which is a lot of golf. And it's about 170, 80 guys, and 25 guys get the PGA Tour card. I mean, 25 cards, it's 180 guys, and 25 of those guys are going to achieve their dream of playing on the PGA Tour. So it's a big deal. And going to the final round, I was inside the top 25, playing pretty well, actually. And then I had 4 holes to go on the last day, and I remember I bogeyed 15 and 16, ended up missing my PGA Tour card by 1 shot.
Wow.
Which was really heartbreaking because I felt like my goal was I achieved it. I had it in my hand, and I felt like it just slipped away last minute. But, as hard as it was at that time, knowing that my dream was that close and I didn't get it, but I really believe to this day that it was blessing in disguise because if I would have gotten that PGA Tour card right away, I don't think my game would have been ready to compete with the best in the world. And it was a blessing in disguise to actually drop down and play on the Nationwide Tour, which is AAA of baseball, and play on that tour and develop my game even more and learn to travel and learn to deal with, providing for my family, for playing golf. It's just a totally different ballgame from college where everything's taken care of for you. The coach take care of everything. You just kind of show up. To the professional level where it's you are your own boss. You're in control of where to stay, how to get there. You're paying for everything, and the money becomes a problem. And it's tough. And because unless you're on the PGA Tour, you're not really going to be really making any money. Because money's not there, and that was really difficult. But so I ended up spending a year on the Nationwide Tour, and that year was a very tough year for us financially, and just first year as a professional, traveling a lot, being away from family, being by myself a lot, and being in motels in some small town in America, kind of going city to city. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned about how to travel and really develop my game, playing week in, week out, So it was a great experience for me, but it was definitely a tough year. And end of that year, so 2011, I go back to San Jose Q School. And this year I didn't play very good, but I played great the last 2 days, and I ended up making I ended up going 5 under on the last 5 holes in the last day to make it by 1 on the PGA Tour. So it was a very dramatic experiences, one for the bad and one for the good. And I've been on the PGA Tour since, so it's been such a roller coaster ride. But I mean, it's been crazy. It's hard to believe that I'm looking back now. It's hard to believe that I'm here playing on my 3rd season on the PGA Tour. You know, so it's been a long journey, but you know, and obviously having my wife and my daughter help me out a lot. The big support system, and it was, for me, it kept me grounded. You know, it's easier said than done to say, hey, family is a lot more important than just with a white golf ball, you know. It's easier said than done because, you know, this is your job and you're a competitor, you know. But really, though, family is what is important, and I've definitely learned that at a young age. Golf doesn't dictate who I am. Golf is just what I do. So if I have a bad round of golf, or if I play a bad tournament, you know, I still struggle with this. And it's easier said than done, like I said, but I try my best not to be, that my worth as a person doesn't change how good or how bad I'm playing at golf. You know, because I know I'm a dad and a husband, and that's who I am, you know, and I want to be just a normal guy, and they really helped me push myself and keep me grounded at the same time. So I think being married at a younger age and having a kid at a younger age definitely helped me mature and at the same time learn what is the most important in life. And I think I learned that at a younger age, which helped for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. You know, I've heard it said, growing up and playing football in college and some in the pros, you know, you always have the halftime speeches and you always have, you know, coaches trying to motivate you by various analogies and parables, you know, what have you. And one of the ones that they always would talk about is stress and pressure. Pressure is what you put on yourself. Okay? That's just, it's usually a positive, ambitious pressure that you want to achieve something. Stress is what other people put on you. And you know, I'm just going over your story and I'm just hearing you talk right now, and I'm thinking back and I'm just like, man, if I was your age, you know, with that amount of responsibility, how would I have done it? But then that's the wrong way to think about it, you know, because you just did it, you know, you had that support system. It's not about, you know, always tactically doing things and making sure that X is taken care of and this is taken care of, because you don't always have that opportunity. It's all about believing that, you know, you can get it done, but also knowing that, as you also said, that, you know, golf isn't everything. So it's not going to destroy you if things don't go as planned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that's big because it took a lot of, you know, younger guys. I've seen it, you know, and it's even I struggle with it, you know, still. It's just like they feel like it's everything. You know what I mean? It's like if I don't perform or if I don't do what I'm supposed to, I'm not a good person, or like I suck. You know, like they're very, you know what I mean? It's like very like do or die. And for me, and if you look at I try to learn a lot from the more experienced players, and if you look at the better players and look at, you know, the good players, they're a lot more relaxed and a lot more, you can see it in their face or their stress level or whatever. It's like, you can tell that it's not everything for them, you know. It's not like, oh, if I miss this putt, whatever. You know what I mean? As a competitor, obviously you're trying your best, but at the same time, it's like, it's not going to kill me, or I'm not going to lose my family over this, or whatever. You know, it's just a game. So, but yeah, I think it definitely helped, though, to really I mean, you got to believe that you can do it, but at the same time, knowing that, hey, if it doesn't really work out, it's meant to be. I'm meant to be doing something else. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk. Well, before we even talk about, nationwide PGA Tour, what's you just gave us one lesson that you learned, or that you exuded, you experienced through Q School. What else did you learn coming out of Q School and going through the stages and you said something to the effect of traveling to these small towns across America. Like what other perspectives did you gain by being on?
Well, out of Q School, I definitely learned to never, ever, give up. Because Q School is a great example of, I have experience, like I told you before, the first stage where I thought it was over. But I really learned to never give up until the last putt is pulled out, Because there are times when you're playing really poorly early, just don't try hard. But I've really learned to always give it your all till the tournament is over. And also, playing on the nationwide tour, traveling from small city to city, towns that I've never heard of before, really, it just kind of opened my eyes to, different things, and just really just kind of taking in just what I have and what I don't have, I didn't really care for. Like, I just, it was difficult financially, too, and just just trying to find the cheapest place to stay, or trying to limit my expenses and all that. I really learned to manage my money better and being smart, and just really learned also the grind of living on the road, really, of what it takes and how much it takes out of you living on the road, pretty much, So I really learned to manage myself mentally, physically, financially. I've really learned that playing on the nationwide tour, and now I don't take anything for granted. It's not like I did before, but I still really, now even more I learn to really be smart financially, be smart physically and mentally, because it's a long year, it's a long grind, because you're living out of hotel rooms all the time, basically. So yeah, the little things like that makes a big difference once you kind of get in the routine of it and kind of take care of the things on time and be prepared for where you're going to stay and where you're going to eat and all that. So just little things like that's what I can really pick up from playing that 1 year on the nationwide tour out of college.
Yeah, I think it's very underrated what traveling does to not just an athlete, but just to your mind. Whether you're a business person, a parent, having to travel. I as a rule, I pretty much hate it. You enjoy and you cherish the reason why you're traveling, whether it's to play a game or to see family or to do a business meeting, what have you. But it just takes so much out of you. And, like you're saying, I don't know if we realize this, when you're on a nationwide tour, you actually referenced this earlier. In college, you have a coach, you probably have an operations person who sets up everything for you. You don't have to worry about, the little things.
Yeah.
You really don't. You just show up, make sure that you have all your gear, make sure you have your cell phone and your adapter. Make sure you have the little things that, are inconsequential necessarily to you playing, but to just your mindset. Nationwide tour, not only do you have to compete, but you have to travel, but you have to also prepare for travel. You have to prepare to win. That has to be draining.
Oh, yeah. It's, and everything is new for me at that time, and just learning that. I think that's big. I think that a lot of people don't realize there's a big transition from college golf to professional level because of other things that were taken care of for you when you're in college. And, you just got to be a lot more responsible, manage your time, manage your money, just little things like that. People don't really understand how much it takes, really, It's a lot of work. So, that's a big transition for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about you getting your tour card. Just that. Let's not single out the moment, but the process, the last stage, getting it. I believe there's a pretty cool story of your wife again helping you out. But let's talk about you acquiring that tour card and then just your entry into the PGA.
So in 2011, after, spending the year on Nationwide Tour, and I had a pretty decent season, so I ended up on final stage, and, kind of a similar story to the first stage experience that I had, that I talked to you about a few minutes ago. So final stage, I basically was out of it the whole time, I didn't play very good. I just played decent. I remember I was maybe 4 shots out of the cut line, the top 25. I think I was about maybe 45th or 50th place going to the last day. And it was supposed to be, it was kind of a windy day, so tough conditions, and you play 2 courses, and I was on the opposite course where usually they put the bottom half of the golfers in because they know these guys are not going to qualify, and they put all the guys who are in contention on the other golf course. So, I didn't really expect it. Nobody really expected anybody from our course to qualify that day because we were playing the tougher course that day, and it was windy. But it was crazy because the day before, my wife was like, I think she was being serious, but kind of being joking at the same time. She was like, she kept saying, I believe in miracles, kind of in a funny way. And I was like, yeah, whatever, And last day, it was just such a crazy experience because, nothing really happened for me that day. I remember I made a bogey on the second hole of the day. I just made 11 straight bars, right? So there's nothing dramatic when I needed birdies. And the last 5 holes, I went eagle, birdie, par, birdie, birdie to finish the tournament and to realizing that I actually made it by 1, which was crazy because nobody expected anybody from our course to make it. I was the only one that ended up making it from our course. And I remember after I made the eagle and the birdie, I still knew it probably wasn't enough. But the camera started to show up, 3 holes to play, so I kind of knew, okay, I gotta be pretty close. But I knew it still wasn't enough. But I remember for some reason those last 5 holes, I was so mentally calm and I had such peace in my heart. It was the weirdest experience. I guess you can say you're in the zone. Nothing really fazed me, and I didn't get overly nervous or anxious. It was just, I guess you could maybe call it divine intervention. I don't know. I mean, it was that kind of an awe experience, where I was so calm under so much pressure that it was so odd. But just that moment when I ended up making that birdie on the last hole, even after that was done, I didn't know if I made it or not. There's no leaderboard out there. And I looked at my family who was following me around, and I was like, hey, am I in? Am I out? They're like, you're in. I can't explain to you the feeling that I had that came over my body when I just realized, I actually made it. It was such an adrenaline rush and such relief at the same time because I was under so much pressure. It was probably one of the most, I think even to this day, because I haven't won a tournament yet, even to this day, the most satisfying moment in my golfing career.
I bet.
It was such a rush. And getting my tour card and starting my rookie year in 2012, I mean, it was a rude awakening call because I was like, I got out on PGA Tour, didn't play very good in the start, but that's when I realized, man, these guys are really, really good. That's when I realized, okay, I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of catch up to do, because that's when I really realized, wow, guys in the PGA Tour are for real. I mean, these are like the real professionals, like these guys know how to prepare, how to get ready, how to compete, and they've been doing it longer than I have. So I had a lot. It was an uphill battle for me, and it still is, but that's when I really realized the adjustments I needed to make, where I needed to get better, where do I start. So it's having these little goals and plans around to make myself better. And the first year was tough because obviously I'm playing all the new courses. I'm playing against guys who've been playing for years on the same courses, more experience. So it was definitely an uphill battle. And in my first year, I ended up not making enough money to feed my car. Well, you got to finish in top 125 to keep your job, or you have to go back to Q school. So I ended up going back to Q school and actually did a lot better this time, finished fourth. So it was less dramatic. But I had a great year this past season. But every year it's been a learning experience for me. I mean, every year, or even every tournament, I walk away with trying to learn something new that I haven't learned before. So it's been a continual learning experience, and just realizing how good these guys are that I am competing with, but at the same time understanding I am just as good. So I need to get better. Yeah. But it's still a long journey, and I think this is definitely a career. It's like a marathon, that I look at. You tackle a little bit here and there, and set little goals and big goals and try to achieve those goals. And I just really told myself, let's just see how good I can be as a golfer, a professional golfer. So, it's definitely been a long journey, but I've been loving every second of it. I mean, it's not easy, but I love putting in the work and trying to see how good I can get, really. So.
Yeah, and to that end, I mean, my next question is just fairly simple. How do you get an edge? And what are some of the things that you see the older guys doing, or that has worked for you that you just keep refining and honing in on?
I think a couple of the things that I have learned from the veterans are that they are really good at preparing, and also they are really good. Obviously, we play a lot of different golf courses and different tournaments, and understanding, there are going to be some courses that just you don't play well on, or there are going to be some courses that you play great on, because every course is different types of grass, So I really understand to manage my schedule a little bit, to not playing in everything, but kind of playing and trying to peak at the tournaments that you really like. I think that's what a lot of veterans do. You're basically taking advantage of certain parts of the game. You're getting better than others. In some courses, your advantages are going to really help you out. So just kind of understanding like which tournaments that I like and play well on, and setting my schedule to that to prepare in a way that I can really peak at these events. And also the veterans, they're true professionals at this. It's hard to kind of, I don't know, when I say professional, I mean, it's kind of like a business. Like they go about it like it's like, it is your job, but they go about it in such a professional way of when they prepare and they manage their time, and when they show up, when they leave, they seem like they have a very solid routine down of how they practice and how they play, if that makes sense. And that's what I try to kind of pick up little things from the veterans and try to kind of make it my own to kind of have that same that mentality of preparation and being smart with their time and just kind of managing myself to peak at certain events. So, and obviously you're always trying to get better. So if there's a guy who's a really good chipper or a putter, I try to go and kind of pick their brain of what they do. If they're good at something, there's a reason why, and I try to go and ask them, hey, what are you thinking about on a certain shot, or what's your routine, and a lot of the guys are very helpful with that. There aren't many guys that are not going to share with you what they do. You know what I mean? So. So yeah.
Wow. that being a professional is something that makes me sound like a geek, but I'll just being honest. That's something that always had like a mystique to me, to my preparation as an athlete when I was an athlete, because I always wanted to play football, play my sport for a living. I mean, I know you're living it now, and it's a feeling that I don't know if you can really. The English language cannot articulate it. Maybe there's other languages out there that can articulate it, but just the little things that you learn as you play more and as you experience more. I mean, like we said earlier, you're a late bloomer, so a lot of what you're experiencing is just, there's going to be some dips, there's going to be some learning curves that you overcome. But becoming a professional and just perfecting your preparation, I think that's something that is so simple, but it's very, very profound.
Yeah. I mean, it's always, like I say, it's always learning. You're constantly learning. It's like it's a never-ending process, really, because you're always trying to get better and better, and always try to learn here and there. So it's,
Yeah. Well, all right. I got two questions remaining. This has been insightful. I just thinking about Q School and nationwide tour. And I think you gave a very good analogy of it being AAA. In the sense that it's very much a proving ground, but it's also it's not even as much of a proving ground athletically. It's like a preparation for life. In a sense that, you can't just show up. You have to prepare for lodging. You have to prepare for food. You have to manage your money. But one of my last questions, I like to ask this because I think as athletes and as professionals, and you just said it, we have to be constantly learning, like we have to be looking for the experts and finding ways to become better at what we do. What are some of the books that you're reading? What are some of the guys, whether they're players or they're businessmen or whether they're, I don't know, Edgar Allan Poe, whoever, what are some of the things that you're reading that are either inspiring you or not only they're inspiring you, but you're learning so much from?
Well, I think I constantly learn from after every round, because I've really learned recently about the mental side, and I've been really kind of tackling that part of the professional, athlete. But even in golf, I feel like the mental part is a very important part of this game. And I've really been kind of speaking to my coach a lot about what I've been feeling, what I thought about a certain shot, and they kind of give me their insight on, hey, I think you were thinking about this because of this, and we kind of talk it out. And also, there are a couple of books that I read. There's one book called The Golf Flow, written by Dr. Giovanni, I think. He's a sports psychologist, which I thought it was great. It talks about how the brain works and how the mind picks up on certain things. And little things like that I try to learn a little bit. And I always kind of ask, I like to just ask questions to some other players about what they do and just kind of pick their brain, like I said. But at the same time, I'm always learning about the golf swing. And so I have a lot of chats with my coaches and fellow players and my caddy. So it's been, because obviously those guys have seen through their set of eyes, and from different players you hear different things and you try to make it your own and try to pick up things here and there. So, it's been, that's what I like to do to get better, and that's how I've been getting better, is more through communication, really, from others.
Okay. The mental side of anything that you do, but especially in sports, especially in golf, where, the majority of what you do is in your head. Of your success is
exactly. Yeah. A lot of people say your worst enemy is in between 6 inches between your ears. It's your brain. So
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right. And my last question is a question where, I've heard it taken many different ways. But whether it's golf or basketball or whatever sport, who are some of your, were some of your role models? Some of the guys where, I'm not saying that you wanted to be exactly like them, but there were attributes and characteristics of who they were that inspired you and you wanted to mold parts of your game after.
Well, I think for the work ethic, and I think a lot of people in my generation growing up looked up to Tiger Woods, obviously, just for his, he's obviously a great player. Looking at the golf aspect of it and how, the thing that amazes me the most is how long he's been good, or how good he is and how long he's been good at it. That's supposed to show you how hard he works and how great he is. And I really appreciate a lot of other athletes too. And, I'm a big Seahawks fan, but I've been kind of picking up a lot about Russell Wilson. He's probably younger than me, I think. But the way he talks, I have a lot of respect for just, in general, a lot of the athletes because I know what it takes to get to that professional level and put in all that time. But whenever I hear Russell Wilson talk about how he prepares or, how he thinks or how he goes about things, it really, I'm like, man, this guy is really a humble guy, really solid guy, and knows what's important in life. And, golf-wise, I grew up a lot, I liked KJ Choi, the fellow Korean, who obviously kind of grew up with nothing and built a great career. So a lot of guys like that I really respect because I know what it takes to get there and that they've been doing it for such a long time. And really, though, any athlete I have a ton of respect for. Any sport really. I think even in business or in any area of life, to get to where they are, it takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work. So I have a lot of respect for just professionals in our lives really, whether it be doctors or writers or actors or whatever, any area in our life, to get to the best, to be the best at anything, it takes a lot of work. So I have tons of respect for those people.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's funny because I stepped into this interview just thinking about, I knew this is, you have a great story. It's a great story. And I didn't think that we'd even talk about being a professional as much as we did, which is awesome in the sense that, honestly, that's what it's really about, because you think about other sports and you think about what sports media, this is a whole other conversation, but you think about what the sports media, what they glorify. They don't glorify preparation, unless it's somebody who's established, a Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning, to certain effects like a Kobe Bryant. But when you start to talk about preparation, that's when the average person's eyes glaze over. They switch the channel. But that's the only reason why we've been talking about you, right? As great as your story is, it's really almost a non-story when you look at it from your perspective because this is just what you've done. This is who you are. You prepare, you get better. You learn, you get better. You prepare, you get better. You learn, you get better. To me, that's so, it's so motivational and so intriguing because there's so much to that. So much to it.
Yeah, for sure. Every day, my goal is let's just get a little bit better and a little bit better. And eventually he's going to get there. So.
Yeah. Well, Richard, I just want to thank you for coming on to the show. I know that in the very near future we're going to be hearing your name a lot, and this was this is, like I said, this is an insightful interview into just learning, but being a pro. And I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, yeah, no, thanks for having me. And, yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to share. So, I had fun.
No doubt. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Talk to you later. Bye.